we set out to write down 100 different ways that we've been paid. Every time somebody would pay us in a different way that we've never been paid before, we'd write it down. And so that way when people said we don't have the money, we could be like, well, here's 100 different ways that we've been paid by other people. You think any of this will work for you? And to our surprise, like, a lot of people found money that they didn't know they had. Here's the backstory. I used to work for this company called Teen Truth, and they were an organization. They weren't a bureau or an agency or nothing. It was really just, it was a speaker that came to my school that I went up to afterwards and asked if I could have a job. He said no like 4 times, but I followed him around, basically bugged him to the point of hiring me. I put on my own event in my hometown, hired him to come speak at the event, and then put myself on stage before him and was like, look, I can do this, you know, give me a job. And so he's the first person that I realized how much outreach it took. That man would call 100+ people a day, send thousands of emails, you know.
200, 300 a day sometimes.
Me and her both worked for him.
Yeah.
We were basically agents before we were speakers because, you know, she was booking me, but we were also booking him. So that's where we learned a lot of this stuff. And a lot of the contracts, we just realized, like, a lot of the people that we're working with and calling were not schools. You know, they were behavioral health organizations. They were even public health organizations, like through government contracts.
The student council sponsors, like just different random sponsors in non-for-profits that are supporting educational initiatives.
And what we started to do was just collect data. No matter what it is that you're doing, you need to write it down. We set out to write down 100 different ways that we've been paid. So we started, a Google sheet. Every time somebody would pay us in a different way that we've never been paid before, we'd write it down. And so that way when people said we don't have the money, we could be like, well, here's 100 different ways that we've been paid by other people. You think any of this will work for you? And to our surprise, like, a lot of people found money that they didn't know they had. And you know, 1 or 2 times is like an anomaly, but once it happened like over 10 times, we're like, okay, this is a thing. Like, sometimes we would find the grants first. Every state has its own grants. Ours is a Stronger Connections grant here in Texas. You know, we find the grants first, figure out what it is that you have to do to be compliant with the grant, and then write papers. Like, if you're not a writer, of course you got ChatGPT and everything else, but align your program with what your state cares about. Every state has initiatives. So the Culture Shift Tour looks different in every state. In California, the Culture Shift Tour is all about social emotional learning, SEL. But in Texas, SEL is a curse word. They hate SEL. It's propaganda. You know, they don't want you to come into the schools, start talking that stuff in Texas. So we have to say student wellness over here. Every state has its own language. And we've had principals tell us, hey, if you say SEL in your emails, they're not even going to open it. But your clients are your #1 mentors, so ask them. And when people say no to us, sometimes in a very rude way, what I say, Mac, whatever we got to do, get that person on the phone. I want to know why. Like, I want to know why, please. And we're just honest with them. It's like, look, we know you're not going to work with us, but please tell me why. And there would be certain people that would just be completely honest. They'll be like, hey, well, this.
And I remember, good to know.
Yeah, it is good to know. And I remember one time when I was young, now I was probably like 22 or 23, I had this video circulating online. I was in my car and I was rapping, and the video was like 21 Savage is trash. It was a diss track to mumble rappers, all right? It got 14 million views on Facebook. Of all things for me to go viral for, right? Started losing gigs, because I'm a motivational speaker, but I was a young rapper at the time, really wanted to just be a rapper. And I'm now like circulating the internet for being a hater, like literally, you know? And so we had somebody tell us, it's like, look, we looked up his Spotify. Like, he's got some songs on there with some curse words in it. Like, we're not gonna hire that. And so like young Jared had to like wake up and decide, like, who are you gonna be? What's your branding gonna be? What are you gonna stand for? You have this cognitive dissonance, like, are you gonna be this person or are you gonna be this person? Who do you wanna be? You know, at the time I was like a brand new father too. So it's like, hey man, you probably need to grow up, you know? And so I had to take down songs that had over 1 million plays because they had curse words in it. And it's like, there's some things, and I talked to the Speakhive speakers about this, is like, there's some comment sections that you're in on a daily basis on Instagram that you need to vacate. Like, there's some things that you're saying online that you think people don't see that are following you that they do. And if you're engaging with educators or decision makers in your industry and they're following you and they see your story and it's political and they're like, oh, I was gonna hire him, but now he's a you-know-who supporter. You know, like I tell people on social media, I'm I'm nothing. I believe in whatever you believe in. Like I'm just I'm just here, dude, you know? Because you don't mix the business with the personal. You absolutely can't. Not in today's age. And I understand people want to stand for certain things, but at the end of the day, man, I'm trying to help everybody because I love everybody. Left or right, it don't matter to me. So I would hate to do something that would not allow me to go to California. You know, I'd hate to do something that would make Texas not mess with me. Like, I would hate that. Like, I'm just a human. There's just many of you on this call, like that's how you feel as well. It's like, no matter what anybody believes, like at the end of the day, they're still one of God's creations and might still a human being that you care about deeply. And if you want to be able to serve them, I think you just got to keep some of that emotional, personal stuff like to yourself. Early on in my career, man, if I would have stuck just to Texas, I would have thought that what I speak about, there's absolutely no money for and nobody cares about it if I just stayed in my state. And I think that's the problem sometimes because we say, you know, yeah, start with your state. Maybe, man, like maybe not start with your state because you could get discouraged real fast if they don't care about what you speak about. And 9 times out of 10, if you grew up in that state, you're probably speaking about what you think everybody needs, which is what they're not spending money on, unfortunately.
And they're not ready to hear.
Yeah, like my hometown has a very high suicide rate. We had 12 students in one school year attempt to take their life in 2011 when I was in high school. But I've yet to be able even to go back and speak at my own high school. Like they don't care. Like they didn't talk about it then, they ain't talking about it now. Like they just sweep it underneath the rug. So if I would have stayed local, I would have thought that there was no need, no value in what I'm doing. It's like that saying that everybody says about like, you know, this bottle of water right here is like a $5 bottle of water. At the airport, it's 20. So it just depends on where you're at. That's what your value depends on.
A very necessary process of being a speaker is knowing your ICP, which is your ideal client profile. Like,
yeah, really write out your ideal client.
Is that person and how do you reach them? If you can do that first, then you can build your brand around that one pinpoint.
Everything that you do or you send to a client, everything they see, everything they touch, you want to get it to the point that they comment on it. And that's when you know it's good. You know, you send somebody a proposal and they're just like, thanks. We're like, damn, proposal wasn't good enough. You know, send a proposal and they're like, this is nice, this is awesome. Or they say things like, they'll start to say this, they'll start to say things like, we're afraid we're probably not gonna be able to afford you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you send them the website and then they come back and they're just like, hey, we'll still have the call, but it's probably out of our budget. That's a good sign. You're like, okay, well, you'll be surprised because we have ways that we can work in scholarship schools and, you know, all that stuff, the block booking and everything. So let's just get on the call anyways. We just want to hear about your challenges and what you're doing. And we just have a talk, man. We just build relationships. At the end of the day, you're never going to go wrong building a relationship with somebody that's in your market ever. We have so many people that never booked us, but Mackenzie became friends with them. I mean, they send our kids gifts. When Madeline was born, send them gifts. They've invited us to be on podcasts and stuff, things that don't pay, but just trying to help us. Like, they really believe in what we're doing. Sorry, we just don't have the money right now, but I know somebody that does. We have this counselor named Amanda that's probably got us booked in 5 or 6 gates at this point, and she still don't have the money to bring us through school. I'm just gonna go for free because she sent me so many people. You know, anytime somebody posts about something in a counselor group that she's in, she's always tagging us and saying, hey, this is the guy, this is the guy. And it's just because we built a relationship with her like 5 years ago. And you know, these people are people that care about what you care about, so they're good friends to have anyways. We always talk about networking, like between speakers and stuff, which is great. You know, you can get gyms like this and you can learn some things. But network with your decision makers, man. You have no idea, becoming friends with a superintendent, if you speak in education, will make you so much more money. I mean, we have a superintendent that every time a new grant comes across his desk, he takes a picture of it, sends it to us, and like, hey, new grant in Texas, man, apply for it now. You know, like, here's the schools that are getting it, schools like mine in this area, and he'll list all the schools that are getting this grant.
I do want to say though that like the reason that happens is because you do such a good job.
Not like really, I was a shy kid growing up because I watch a lot of speakers. So I always tell speakers this, like, I am not Eric Thomas. Like, you know what I'm saying? That guy is my hero since high school. So I know when I look at somebody that's like, that's from God, like that God-given talent. I was a shy kid that had to really work to just be someone who could talk to people at all. You know what I'm saying? So I see speakers all the time that are like just way more talented, but they just don't have systems. Like they're just not, maybe it comes with a little bit of entitlement when you're talented. I don't know, like maybe that's what it is. And they think they don't have to work as hard and still get enough. But for us, like for who I am, like I had to work really, really hard to get every stage. And of course, after doing something for a really long time, you become good at it. But it took me so long to get to this point. Like there's natural speakers that come through Speakhive all the time that I watch their videos and like, it's just, that dude's charismatic. Like it's just a God-given gift to him. Like he's been doing this forever and that's his thing. And so if they put systems and the hard work behind that, they just absolutely blow up. It was probably like 3 years ago. I was at a Next Level event. Eric was talking and he said, there would be no Eric Thomas if it wasn't for my team over there. Like everybody that's sending the emails, everybody that's sending the proposals, the contracts, the invoices, like everybody's doing the marketing, that's doing the branding, like CJ, like everybody over there is what created this. Like I could be great at speaking and it's God-given and like I have a voice for it, but like they turned it into a business. And that's why you know Eric today. And I mean, he's the one that said that. That was out of his own mouth. So I was like, that hit me. I was like, talented, has it, like he's got that it factor about him, yet he still needed a team to build a business around him, and he still needed this branding, and he still, you know, had to have this $1 million message that made sense to an audience that he's trying to speak to. And that's why this worked so well. And that just opened my eyes, because I was like, who am I to think that I don't need that? I need more than that, you know? I need a 30 people team at least, you know? So I need a whole system. Like I really do.
That's it for today's video. If you're interested in booking 2 to 4 paid speaking engagements every single month using an AI-powered outreach system, just click the link down below, book a call with our team, and we'll show you how it works.